Hey, this is Corey from Fuel Your Photos, and today I will be reviewing BrittneyHogue.com. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Okay, so we're going to start with my usual questions here about first impressions. What is this site about? Well, Brittney, you've done a really good job of making that extremely obvious. I love the way that you have the big text right at the top loaded instantly, and I could immediately tell exactly what the site is about. Photography by Brittney Hogue. I hope I'm saying your last name right. If not, please send me a message and let me know how to say it so I can know you better in the future. And then immediately Peoria, Illinois, birth, newborn, and family photographer. It doesn't get much more clear than that. I even love the fact that I have this call to action right here at the top, right in front of my face. It's not big and annoying, but it's there for me, and I know, hey, if that's what I want to do, I know how to do it. I like that. You have your navigation here. That's nice and simple. So the first thing that I want to do, I need to come back to what service is offered and where. Again, answer it immediately right here. What's the first thing I want to do? I want to go ahead and scroll down since I can see that this image is kind of cut off a little bit, so I know there's going to be more. So does it do what I expect? I love the fact that you have text on your homepage. As an SEO expert, that's like music to my ears. And you're telling your story, and you're making it so that your clients can connect with you. And then you have calls to action right here and to sign up. Like this is a great layout. I love this. It follows the format very similar to what Brian Harris would call a upside down homepage. And in fact, so you're on Squarespace, so I'm not sure exactly how easy this would be to do, but I'm sure it's possible. You could even potentially hide your main navigation here and then move up a little bit with this image and then put the navigation down here. That's kind of the literal definition of an upside down homepage, is where the navigation comes after all the content. I wouldn't do that on every page, but on a homepage, it is a method that people do. You could try it and see if it converts for you, if people are able to navigate it. I kind of like the navigation up here. I just thought about that when I saw the way that you had this laid out. I like it. And these buttons are, definitely the main actions that I would want to take. Besides maybe getting to know a little bit more about you, but I think I can do that up here. If I click About, does it go to something separate? Okay, we're basically land on the About page. The About page is the home page, and I'm okay with that. The only thing that's not included, though, is a little bit more about you. Since the name is Brittney Hogue, then I want to know who Brittney is, and I assume this is not Brittney. Oh, this could be, but this is not, and so I want to know a little bit more about you, so a picture would be nice if this is the About page. You might have another page that's, the content here is great for a home page, but then maybe you have a little bit more about you on a more specific About page. Now, if I were going to change anything about this, this kind of falls into the next question. Are there any notable things that I want to do, or kind of what do I expect to happen? The only thing is I would like to see potentially a few more photos here on the home page. I do like that it's lightweight and fast to load, and you get the idea immediately. But it wouldn't be too hard to put a little a gallery here of even just 5 or 6 images that I could flip through. You could even maybe potentially make it extend so that you know that it does that, or it automatically scrolls. You can choose on all of those things. You don't want to get too fancy, because I think I like the simplicity. That's what works about this site. But that is something that I would consider. You could even potentially put like a grid. I don't want to mess up the simplicity here, but I do feel like I want to know a little bit more. But that also leads me to click on View Galleries, which is hopefully the main action. That's another thing you could experiment with here. Another thing that I might do here is get rid of the See Specials button, make View Galleries the #1 action, the only button right here, and then instead of an email newsletter, make this a simple contact form. So get in touch and find out or get our specials and find out if we're available, put in their name, their email address, a quick message, and then they do it. That's another way you could do this, and I think that's worth testing to see if it might even make it more likely for people to do. Because right now I've got 3 things. I want to do all of these things, so I'm going to have to go. Let's just go ahead and do the next thing. So view gallery. I really love how many words you have here. It's, again, makes me happy to see all of this. And I'm just going to see what happens if I click one of these images. Okay, so it looks like that's maternity. And then birth, I'm assuming. Yep. And then, yep, I like the way you have these described. The only thing I would say about that is you may want to consider making it a little bit more clear. So I love the fact that you're kind of incorporating meaning here. You're not just trying to be cute. Some people are just like coming up with words to try to be cute, and I don't really like that. But here you're actually like telling why each of these things is important, and I love that. But maybe include the word maternity, birth, newborn, family, or lifestyle, breastfeeding, or lifestyle here, you know, whatever. You could put those on this little thumbnail potentially, or, you know, that could be the headline here and then a sub-headline that says this. There's just a couple of ways. You just want to make sure it's exceedingly clear what's going to happen whenever I click one of those. I wasn't sure if maybe this was the whole gallery and, you know, I wasn't going to be able to see more. I don't think that it's clear immediately that these are going to be separate galleries, but I'm glad that they are because I wanted to see more, and I like the way this is laid out. Simple, not too much. I mean, of course, this would be nice if you had a little bit more variety, like from different sessions, but I'm assuming that's coming as you do more. But I do like the fact that it's not overwhelming. There's only, you know, 10 or so images here, and that's fine. You could do 20 maybe, but some people have hundreds of images in their gallery, and it's just overwhelming. So I think what you've done there is good. So now this is where on the home page, remember when I said you could eliminate some of the options? What I'm thinking right now is, oh, there was something else I wanted to do on the home page. What was it? And I've already forgotten. Like, actually have already forgotten. So I have to go back to the home page. Oh, yeah, I was going to see the specials. That's right. And I do that. And I would, you know, read this and potentially book. I like that. I mean, I like that you have this. What's the difference in that and investment? So these are like your standard rates. And then if I go back here, you know, notice that like this says photography and this says galleries. I'm wondering, like, is it the same? It is the same thing. Okay. You might want to make the words consistent there. Kind of words, I'm assuming this is going to be reviews. Testimonials, that's fine to call it testimonials. It's looking good. And then blog. Let's check that out. As of 2016, if you're in my group, and I know you are, then you know how I feel about that. That's awesome that you've done that. All right, I like that these are kind of snippets that let me decide if I want to read more. Let's go ahead and look at one of these posts. Oh, I don't like the fact that this is all caps, big letters. This looks good. This might be a title that was too long or something like that, but you might want to fix that. Let's go in here. Pretty easy to read the blog. I like the way that you're including lots of text. This boilerplate copy is good to kind of let people know what's going on. You got the call to actions here, calls to action. Yeah, this is, I really love the flow that you have going on here and the simplicity of your site. And this is just a good site to prove that you don't need a whole lot to get people to really connect with what you have going on. So, you know, going back to one other thing that kind of came to my mind is that this is really good text that you have written here, but, and I haven't like really dug into it and analyzed this, but it's a little bit overwhelming at first, and I would potentially bold a couple of things or maybe put a headline on this to to kind of let people know what so they can skim it and decide if they want to read it. At first, I would probably skip over this, and I think this is what you need to do. You need people to read this to grab their attention and get them to continue on. So making this a little bit more readable would be a top priority if I were you. So next up, we're going to check. I'm not even going to worry about domain issues. You're on Squarespace. Of course, I'll just do it anyway, because I always like to check this, make sure that both work. That's good. Let's go ahead and load up here and see page title. Trying to see. It looks like up here there's no space between this pipe. That's one thing I always like to try to tell people, to put spaces between your break characters, unless it's a colon after a word. Oftentimes these characters can be things that Google might attach to the word. Usually they can do a pretty good job of parsing that kind of thing, but you still want to try to make it as clear as possible and know which words are which, so that these don't all run together. Brittney, Hogue, Illinois, newborn family. I mean, that's exactly how I like to format titles: brand first, and then main keyword. The meta description is good. It's a little generic. Maybe you could give a benefit instead of just a feature. And so, I haven't read through everything to really get your exact angle on it, but it looks like you're saying all of the right things. Maybe incorporate some of that message here into your meta description. Don't worry quite as much about keywords in your meta description, because they are not a direct ranking factor. You want to get people to click here. So grab their attention. If you can use some keywords, that's great. And it's possible to do both, and so I'm not going to go into exactly what I would do there, but that's something I would work on. The other thing is, if you could get that keyword into your H1, that would be even better. But again, I kind of like how you have this as an H1, and if this is an H2, it's not. I would try to make this an H2, and that's good enough. Google can understand what's happening there, and for your homepage, that's perfectly acceptable. And so, let's see here. Description, headings, body copy, we've already talked about. See if you use Peoria, Illinois in here anywhere. Doesn't look like it. You don't really have it here in a footer or anything. You could always add that. Oh, there you do use it right here. Yeah, and all of these words are good. You're using good semantic keywords. Alt text. Whoops. It's kind of, that's good that I can, because there's no alt text found. Just double check here. Yeah, it looks like there's no alt text on this. And so, adding some alt text to this in Squarespace, just go to Google and type in Squarespace alt text, and it'll show you all the places where you can add alt text to different types of image blocks. It's not hard to do, and you could add some alt text. Make sure to include the keywords if it's just like one image like this on the home page. On your galleries, you want to be a little more descriptive of your images, and use contextual keywords, just describing them as if you were telling a blind person exactly what was in that photo. And let's see what else. So speed. So far this has been really fast to load for me. Let's run it through Pagespeed Insights one time. Any other things that I want to mention here? From an SEO perspective, I think that for the most part, everything here is fine. There's not a ton of content, but that's okay, and you have that on your blog. That's where you're going to really start ranking for like the long tail keywords, and as you build up more and more of the authority in the area, I think what you're doing here is good, and that will kind of support the entire domain. I'm not sure. Let me log in real quick, just so I can get. Shoot, I forgot they took that out of the. Let's do this. Let's go to Open Site Explorer real quick, and then we will take your site, put that in here. And okay, so domain authority 1, page authority 1. So that's going to be one of your number 1 priorities. There can't be multiple priorities. There can only be one priority. So that will would be my priority if I were you right now is to try to start building your domain authority. And the best way that you can do that, you've already got good content here. You're publishing good content. Your site is structured well. The key things are in place. What you need to start doing now is getting links to your site on other sites. So that's a whole nother story, and we could go into that for a long time, but just know that link building is a key to your success right now in your position. And so you need to be thinking about how you can get featured on other websites and how you can get listed on other websites. And I'm not going to go into all the other SEO things, but that's just one thing that came right to mind, noticing that your domain authority is a little bit low at this point. Well, definitely low because it's at the beginning. Okay, so one last thing here. We are going to, let's see what Pagespeed Insights says, 60 and 82. 60 is because of... see how much it's going to tell us we could get out of that. Honestly, I'm not super concerned about this. I mean, this isn't something you're not going to be able to change in Squarespace. It loaded really fast for me. I don't think this is going to be an issue that you're going to have a problem with. Let's go ahead and look at this on mobile one time. We'll put this here, and we're going to turn on the regular. We'll do the good 3G throttling. I'm going to refresh that. And let's refresh it one more time so it gives us the full fresh timeline. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I haven't looked at it on a phone. Okay, so never mind. It did load down eventually. So it took about 8 seconds to get fully loaded on good 3G. But the way it looks on mobile is really good. It seems very easy to use. All the same things that I said before apply here. Navigation is not bad. Again, I would love to see the ability to flip through just a few more images to really get the idea of what you do, and bold a couple of these things like authenticity and connection in real life. That should be italicized, or even a heading here, a pull quote or something like that. Let's just view your galleries one time, make sure they're working well. That's kind of annoying that happens every time. That's probably one of the problems with the Pagespeed Insights, is that that JavaScript and CSS is not loading in an order that allows the content to be formatted correctly on the initial load. And this is still not loaded. Oh, it's probably because there's so much to load here. So it's loading it's funny because it's telling us to move the render blocking JavaScript and CSS, but it looks like from the way that it's behaving that's already been moved to the footer, because it's not loading this JavaScript and CSS until after all these images have loaded. So I'm not sure what Google's talking about there. They don't always get it right, by the way. So open one of these galleries and just scroll through. So the masonry just kind of turns into a one column scrolling gallery, which is great. On mobile, I feel like it would be nice to have back to top, or the next gallery or something like that right here, or contact, or book a session like this, because now I've got to scroll all the way back up. In this case, it's only a few images, but if it were more images, that could be something I want to do. What happens if I click this, by the way? It's just contact. Okay, so one other thing that I'll mention that I kind of forgot earlier, that's kind of an SEO thing, is let's go back to desktop just so I can see everything clearly and make sure. Okay. Yeah, so the other thing that's really missing here is contact information. I didn't even realize that. It's normally one of the first things I'll notice. I mean, you have the fact that you're in Peoria, but you don't have an address, you don't have a phone number, and you don't have an email address. And you have 3 social icons down here, so that's something. But if I were you, I would put your email address and phone number at the bottom, if not a full address. And I understand a lot of people don't have an address. That's a disadvantage for SEO, but I understand the situation. So at the minimum, though, you should have an email address, and then ideally at least an email address and phone number, even if you need to get a Google phone number or something like that. and even more ideally, a full address as well, just to verify. I mean, whenever someone lands on a local website looking for a local service, they want to make sure that it's actually a local person, and the contact information makes that easy. Just having a contact form is fine, but what happens if this doesn't load right or it doesn't work right? You want to make sure that people have another alternative option to be able to contact you. So just making that simple with an email address and phone number would solve that problem. Okay, so that's really it for this review. I hope that you found some of this helpful. I really enjoyed your website. I love the simplicity of it. I appreciate minimalism, and a lot of photographers talk about trying to do that and don't necessarily do it well, and I think you've done it well here. A few little tweaks, and I think you could have a really highly converting website as you send people to it. This would be a great site to send people to directly from Facebook ads or other methods like that. If you can get this tweaked where you only have one button and then the contact form, I think this would be a perfect landing page for an ad, if the ad has the right copy and maybe a couple more images or something like that. So you have a lot of good stuff going here. So if anyone else would like to have your site reviewed, just go to fuelyourphotos.com/reviews. Fill out the form there, and it'll add you to my list, which is currently up to around 20 people. And so I'm trying to do one a day, and so you're just about 3 weeks until you get one reviewed if you go ahead and do that today. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel, and there will be more of these reviews coming up. Hopefully they're helpful, even if this is not your site, and you can get some tips on building your own website. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments there on YouTube, or go over to Facebook and join the Fuel Your Photos group. All right, talk to y'all soon.